Hey guys, OG Albino here, and today I'll be bringing you my Pokemon Alpha Sapphire Hardcore Nuzlocke using only grass types. While these games are actually pretty easy with super training, there actually aren't too many grass types in the game. There are only a total of 10 separate lines that we can obtain, 13 if we count Mirage Forest when we get Soar. However, we can only get one of these Mirage Forest lines and very late in the game. Plus, out of the original 10 lines, we cannot get the Shifty line because it's a version exclusive to Omega Ruby, and we have to choose between Vileplume and Blossom, so that's only 9 total evolutionary lines. Basically, we're not left with a lot of wiggle room, making this run a lot harder than it might seem. If you haven't watched a hardcore Nuzlocke or played in one yourself, here are the rules. 1. Fainting equals death. If I lose a Pokemon, it's gone forever. 2. I can only catch the first grass Pokemon I catch on each route, and there is Species Clause in action. So I can't catch, an Oddish and get a Vileplume, like I said, and then also catch an Oddish later on in a different route and get a Blossom. I'm stuck to choose one or the other. 3. You have to nickname Pokemon, form an emotional bond with them, all that good stuff. 4. No items in battles like potions and revives, and obviously revives, full heals, things like that. But I can use held items like berries and things like that. 5, there is a level cap in place, so I can't level up past the next gym leader's ace Pokemon, or when I get to the Elite Four, I'm going to do it to where I cannot level up past Drake's final mon, because he's the final member of the Elite Four. And then 6, I have to play the game on set mode, as Switch is a little bit too easy. Alright, before we jump into the run, I do have to do my required YouTuber plug, so if you guys enjoy this run, please consider dropping a like or even a subscription to the channel if you want to see more content like this in the future. Alright, let's do this. For our starter, we obviously snagged Trico, and after early game shenanigans, we can finally make our way onto Route 102, where we can grab our first encounter in Lotad. Lotad and eventually Ludicolo is going to be incredibly important this run, being the only member on our team not weak to fire or ice, besides Sceptile when it comes to fire. It'll basically be impossible to beat Flannery without him. Next encounter we can grab is Shroomish, which is also our last encounter before our first gym fight in Roxanne. It's not too strong now, but it gives us a crazy strong physical attacker with priority as a Breloom later on. Alrighty, it's officially Roxanne time. As you might guess, this was an absolute cakewalk. I basically led Trico and spammed Mega Drain until the cows came home. Don't worry, every gym after this will be a little bit more tough and require a little bit more thought. After beating up an Aqua Grunt and saving Pico, Mr. Briny thanks us by sailing us to Dewford Town, where we can pretty much immediately take on our second gym. The Fighting Specialist Brawly leads off with his Machop as I lead Shroomish. I try to lead seed turn 1, but immediately miss as Machop sets up a bulk up. Thankfully, I land a lead seed the following turn, as Machop thankfully goes for a Seismic Toss instead of Karate Chop, which would have done a ton more damage. I Mega Drain the following turn as he finally does Karate Chop, but thanks to the lead seed and my Mega Drain recovery, I stay pretty decently healthy. After another bulk up, Machop is put in potion range, so he heals up as I continue to spam Mega Drain. A few more is all I need to finish off the Machop. Next up is Makuhita, which I also lead seed as it knocks off my Oranberry. The next turn I pivot into Grovyle and spam Mega Drain as that plus lead seed takes it out after a few turns, grabbing us our second gym badge. Before our third badge, we get just one more encounter on Route 110 in Oddish and eventually Vileplume, giving us a very bulky and annoying mon with access to recovery and Moonlight later on. I didn't know this at the time, but Vileplume will put the team on its back this entire run, especially with its neutrality to poison, which we don't have up to this point. More Aqua Grunts and one rival battle with May later, where Lotad comes up freaking clutch, and we're able to take on Watson. Oh, and quick side note, I also accidentally overleveled Lombre past the level cap on a gym trainer, so we won't be using him this battle. You would think that since I resist electric, this gym was going to be easy. The only issue is that Watson's Magnetite and Magneton also basically resist everything on my team, making killing them an absolute pain with all the paralysis and confusion he throws around. Watson leads off with his Magnemite as I lead with my Grovyle. I Rock Smash turn 1 for a 2-hit KO as he tries to Thunder Wave me, but a Cherry Berry heals the para right away. Another Rock Smash takes it out as he goes Magneton. After getting a few Rock Smashes off, I pivot into my Gloom to not risk hitting myself in confusion to a Supersonic from the Magneton. I then threw off a Sleep Powder the next turn and put it right to sleep. I go right back out into Grovyle and throw off a bunch more Rock Smashes, and after a heal, I knock out the Magneton. Last up is Voltorb, which goes down to 3 Mega Drains, grabbing us the third gym badge. After Watson, I have one more encounter to the left of Mauville on Route 117 in Roselia. I catch it, then proceed onwards. There was a ton of time between our third and fourth gym battles, partly due to story events, but mostly due to super training. Super draining in Gen 6 is pretty broken, allowing me to EV train really fast in speed up mode. On top of EV training all my mons, maxing out super training also allowed me to get a water stone early, allowing me to get a much needed Ludicolo for our flannery fight. This might seem like a little bit much for that point in the game, but I felt like wiping was very much so likely if we didn't do this extra step. After all that, it was finally time to take on Flannery. She leads off with Slugma, which cleanly gets OHKO'd by Bubble Beam from Ludicolo. Next up is Torkoal, which unsurprisingly goes down to a Bubble Beam as well, due to its poor special defense. The 4x Water Weak Numel drops next en route to a much easier gym battle than I initially thought it would be. The real tough battle comes after Norman and Winona and her flying types, but we have to beat up Papa first. However, before heading to Petalburg, I head over to the desert to grab a Cacnea for another team member, completely forgetting about the root fossil and the leap, but we'll touch on that later on. Okay, now it's time to fight Norman. Thankfully, we have a Breloom at this point in the game, so it makes this fight relatively stress-free. We leave Breloom versus Norman slacking. I bulk up as he encores me into it, but honestly, I'm fine being locked into this move. I can continue to compound boost between his loafing turns and me taking minimal damage from his physical attacks. I do get yawned before my yawn core ends, but I'm boosted enough to try and wake up for a few turns. I do on the second sleep turn OHKO the slacking with a +3 Force Palm. Next up is Vigoroth, which I cleanly OHKO with a Mach Punch. The last slacking also dies to a Force Palm, and we have our 5th gym badge in Access to Surf, which is great for Ludicolo. On our way to Winona, we're able to grab another encounter in Tropius, who isn't particularly good, but she has a really cool design. If I were to say any Gen 3 mon needed to get buffed, I think it's probably Tropius. It looks a lot more intimidating than its stats let on. Before we jump into the Winona gym, I want to of course highlight my stupidity. Vileplume was going to be my carry this game. I EV trained it in defense and HP, so that despite its weakness to flying, I can sit in front of most of her team in conjunction with Moonlight healing me. Now, due to my lack of research and brain cells, I didn't know I had access to the Sludge Bomb TM prior to this fight, leaving me only with Acid for damage output. And as you can probably imagine, Acid is super weak. I didn't know at the time, but I made this fight way tougher than it needed to be. I let off with Plume as she let off with Swallow. Swallow throws off an Aerial Ace as I do half with an Acid. It tries to double team up the next turn as we Moonlight, and then we take it out the following turn with an Acid, breaking through the double team. Next up is Pelipper. We chew up an Aerial Ace and then put it right to sleep with Sleep Powder. Next, since it's neutral to grass, I can 2-hit KO it pretty easily with Giga Drain. Next up is Skarmory, and after missing a few moves, I decided it's my best interest to pivot Ludicolo and 2-hit KO it with Surf, wasting a potion of Winona's in the meantime. Altaria is next, and this is the massive issue. After switching into Vileplume and getting paralyzed by Dragon Breath, I realized that Acid is doing negligible damage, and I can't do physical damage to it because it started setting up Cotton Guards. From here, I'm basically in a position where I need to PP stall this thing and get really lucky with paralysis into Quick Claw turns. Not only this, but I'm also eventually forced to sack off our newly acquired Tropius, who again, isn't super good, but I liked her, and she had no opportunity to do anything cool at all. After some great luck and lots of stress, I was able to position my double teaming Ludicolo in on the Altaria after it had used all of its Dragon Breaths, so I could narrowly avoid, see what I did there? A sweep at the hands of stupid Altaria that wouldn't have honestly been an issue if I grabbed Sludge Bomb prior to the battle. Ugh. 6 gym down. After acquiring our Mega Ring and beating up a ton of Aqua Grunts, we can make our way to Sootopolis to fight Tate and Liza. Oh, just an FYI, I haven't really been mentioning much of the Aqua fights or the rival fights, simply because they haven't been too hard to deal with our grass types, outside of the occasional Golbat. Let me know if you guys would like me to go over evil team battles and rival battles in the next video though. Tate and Liza can be pretty tough, really only in Pokemon Emerald. In Oras and in Ruby and Sapphire, they only have Solrock and Lunatone, which are both weak to the same things, especially our grass types. I lead off with Ludicolo and our newly acquired Mega Sceptile. I Mega Evolve with Sceptile, then fake out the Solrock, and then OHKO the Lunatone with our Mega Sceptile's Leaf Blade. The following turn, Leaf Blade and Surf nuke the Solrock, grabbing us our easiest badge since Roxanne. Remember when I was talking about how I hadn't talked about aquafights because they hadn't been hard? Well, that's the case, except for the final Archie battle. He really only has one Pokemon that's an issue, and it's a Crobat with acrobatics and no item that OHKO's almost my entire team. I have no idea how I'm going to get around this thing. Thankfully, his lead is Mightyena and not Crobat, which I can lead Breloom versus and get a bulk up off turn 1 as it scary faces me to lower my speed. I try to set up again to get out of Crobat range, but the Mightyena taunts me, stopping me in my tracks. I OHKO it the next turn with a Mach Punch. Next up is Muck, which I can go into Rose Raid on and Leech Seed to wear down, as I don't have much to break it. After getting that off, I switch right into Vileplume and throw off a Moonlight into Sleep Powder. And after that, it's just spamming Giga Drain until it goes down. Finally, Crobat comes out, and oh man, this might be it. I decide to stay in with Vileplume to Sleep Powder as it acrobatics crits me, but thankfully, Vileplume is too bulky and we live and land the Sleep Powder, putting it to sleep. I sit there for a bit and realize my only way out is hard switching into Rose Raid and hoping it gets a 2-turn sleep so I can get a Leech Seed off, sacking Rose Raid in the process. Thankfully, I do get that 2-turn sleep as Rose Raid makes the ultimate sacrifice for her garden-dwelling brethren, getting off a Sludge Bomb prior to going down. The final part of Defeat Crobat.exe is going into Ludicolo and dodging a crit from Acrobatics, which we thankfully do, killing it with Surf. Last up is Mega Sharpedo, which as cool as it isn't half a threat to my team as the Crobat was. I make the switch out into my healthy Breloom and proceed to 2-hit KO with Mach Punch, beating Archie in an intense fight. I suddenly get the weirdest feeling though, that I'm missing out on a flying neutral grass type Pokemon. I wonder why. I beat the whale water god who can drown the entire world with a duck who wears a sombrero because Pokemon. And then I get to take on another gym where I have a major type advantage in Wallace. I lead off with my Mega Sceptile against a Love Disc and OHKO it with Leaf Blade. Next up comes out Milo, which I can't actually OHKO with Leaf Blade, and I don't want to die to an Ice Beam, so I switch into my Ludicolo, the only ice neutral member on my team. 2 Grass Knots is enough to take out the Milo as it goes down. Then both Wishcash and Celio go down to a single Grass Knot, and the last member in Seeking is an easy 2-hit KO for our 8th and final badge. Next up is Victory. Oh my god, how do I beat Mega Gallade? No type advantage, and it just kills everything. I get through Victory Road and go into my battle with Wally before the league with my inner Draft League player expecting the absolute worst. Wally leads Altaria, but this time it's not an issue like Winona's because I can cleanly OHKO it with a Mega Sceptile Dual Chop. Next up is Delcatty, which I can just 2-hit KO with Leaf Blade from Sceptile after being immobilized by Love for a few turns due to Q-Charm. Magneton comes in next and gets 2-hit KO'd after Sturdy and a few EQs, and finally comes in Roselia, cutting my Sceptile Rampage short. Also, why does Wally have Roselia? Give bro a Rose Raid, this is the end game. I take it down by peppering with Sludge Bombs from Vileplume, and then Mega Gallade comes in to ruin my entire day. It turns out I actually live a Psycho Cut with Vileplume, so I stay into Sludge Bomb praying I get a Poison to chip it down, which I thankfully do. Next up, I have the plan of pivoting Ludicolo to fake out the Gallade, racking up some poison damage as it flinches. Great plan, right? I'll give you guys 3 seconds to tell me why I'm an absolute idiot. 1, 2, 3. It has inner focus and I can't flinch it. I get absolutely bailed though as the AI for some reason clicks slash and I live on a sliver. I don't think the E4 is possible without Ludi, so this is absolutely amazing. I decide my weakest link is actually Cacturne, and as cool as he'd be for Phoebe and her ghost types, we sack it off to get a free switch in to Mega Sceptile to finish off the weakened Gallade. That went absolutely terribly. I lost another Mon, leaving with only 4 for the Elite Four. Or so my dumbass thought. Turns out not only could I grab Tangler from the Mirage Force and evolve into Tangrowth, my buddy Nathan reminded me that I completely forgot about the Root Fossil and Lileep/Cradily, which would have been so good for this run. Crobat would have been a breeze with its secondary rock typing. I grab both of those encounters as well as a bunch of items and TMs and prepare to take on the Elite Four. First up is Sydney, who's honestly a pushover. I lead off with a Pears and Berries Swords Dance Breloom. After an SD and a Swagger put me up to +3 attack, every single one of his Pokemon died to either a Mach Punch or a Sky Uppercut. I only Sky Uppercutted the Shiftry because I had zero clue what his stats actually were. Oops, it probably for sure went down to a Mach Punch. Oh well, first Elite Four member down. Funny enough, I had a very similar strategy for Phoebe. I led off with Breloom and clicked Swords Dance as I shrugged off a Confuse Ray with the Pears and Berry. From there, surprisingly, every single one of Phoebe's Pokemon dropped to a +2 Seed Bomb, securing us another really easy victory in the Elite Four. Next up was Glacia, probably the hardest member of the Elite Four for me. Only my Ludicolo is neutral to Ice, meaning I need to hard carry with him. Plus, Blizzard is very strong regardless, even being neutral, so we had to come up with an interesting strategy. I led off with Breloom so I could outspeed and Oko the Glalie with a Sky Uppercut. Next up was Frostlass, so I switched hard into Ludicolo. After a lucky Blizzard dodge, I decided to set up a double team as Frostlass tries to set up Hail for 100% accurate Blizzards. However, the next turn I'm able to set up a Rain Dance, outspeeding it, to not only take that 100% Blizzard chance away, but also give us residual Rain Dish recovery. I throw off a Surf to 2-hit KO the Frostlass as I dodge a Confuse Ray, picking it off after a full restore. Next up is our second Frostlash, which hails after my Rain Dance, so I set up another, allowing me to dodge a Blizzard and throw off another Surf before Frostlash hails again. I try to pick off the Frostlash with the Surf, forgetting it has Snow Cloak, and missing my Surf, taking a chunk from Blizzard in the process. The following turn I set up another Rain Dance, allowing me to dodge a Blizzard and take out the Frostlash, healing a bit. Wall Rain is next, which I can 2-hit KO with Energy Ball after taking a Blizzard through the rain. Who hits? Last up is Glalie, which has Freeze Dry, so I decide to not risk it and go hard Cradily and 2-hit KO it with Rock Slide after it sets up a Hail. Boom! Ice Elite Four member Eaton with only Grass types. And no deaths at that. Our last challenge before the champion is Drake and his Dragon types. In this fight, our starter and Mega Pokemon Sceptile gets to show off a bit. We lead it off and immediately Oko the Altaria with a Dragon Claw. Next up is Kingdra, which we actually don't Oko with Dragon Claw, so I'm forced to pivot into our specially defensive Cradily. After taking a few Ice Beams, I Giga Drain once and then miss a Toxic as Kingdra yawns me. Not wanting to fall asleep, I made a series of pivots between Cradily and Ludicolo as the Kingdra continued to spam Yawn, eventually getting a Toxic off the turn it Dragon Pulsed. From there, Ludi gets an Energy Bill off to take it out in conjunction with the Toxic damage, as the Kingdra throws off a last-ditch Yawn. The first of Drake's two Flygons comes out next, and I decide to let Ludi go to sleep as it's my best play so I can take out the Flygon with an Ice Beam. After that, our channel mascot and Salamence comes out, so I go hard Rocky Helmet Tangrowth, who just happened to actually have HP Ice, allowing us to Oko the Salamence. The last Flygon came out, and after hitting myself in confusion due to a Supersonic from it, I pivoted into Vileplume and eventually took it out with some Giga Drains. Drake down, all that remains is Steven. We step into the champion's room. Side note, Steven is by far the coolest champion in Pokemon. Do not at me. And we're ready to challenge him for the final battle of this run. I lead off Ludicolo versus Skarmory, as it's my best way of breaking through this thing as it has a phenomenal type matchup versus our team. Due to it having Sturdy, I decided I might as well Ice Beam for neutral damage turn 1 to try and cheese a freeze to prevent a spike, which I actually get, allowing a 2-hit KO the following turns with Surf after a full restore from Steven. Next up is Cradily, who I decide to go hard Vileplume on a predicted Sludge Bomb and throw off my own, grabbing a poison in the process, as Cradily confuses me with Confuse Ray. The following turn, I hit myself in confusion and then get crit by Sludge Bomb, but thankfully I'm able to break through the following turn and get off a big Moonlight. A subsequent Giga Drain is enough to KO the Cradily, allowing the Claydol to come in next. Now it's time for our starter to shine once again. I go hard into it as Claydol sets up a Light Screen. This allows a freeze Sword Dance as we take an extra sensory. A +2 Leaf Blade absolutely nukes the Claydol the following turn, taking it out. Next up comes Aggron, which gets taken out of Sturdy by an Earthquake very easily, and we chew a Dragon Claw on just 12 HP, taking it out the following turn with another Earthquake. Next up is Armaldo, which just barely lives a +2 Rock Slide, but Fred clutches up and gets a flinch, allowing us to KO it the following turn. Last up is Mega Metagross. And honestly, the smart play would be to sack off Sceptile, do a Bullet Punch, and get a free switch into Rocky Helmet Tangrowth and secure the victory. But I can't let my starter go down, especially after that clutch flinch and living on 12 HP from that Dragon Claw. I go hard Tangrowth and get some chip with Rocky Helmet, and start chipping it down with Earthquakes alongside our Rocky Helmet chip. We live a Giga Impact on about 6 HP, and then take down the Metagross, no deathing the champion and the Elite Four, winning the run. This was honestly really fun for my first Monotype run. I feel like I played super sloppy at times, and I definitely didn't do enough research prior to the run, or some of the fights though, so I definitely do so in subsequent runs. I also fell even more in love with mons like Vileplume and Ludicolo this run. I already liked them a lot as Pokemon from my Draft League experience, but now after seeing how hard they carried us this run, they have a special place in my heart as Pokemon. Thank you guys so much for watching, and let me know what type of run and in which game you would like to see next. Drop a like if you enjoyed, and be sure to sub if you're new. I'll see you guys in the next one. Later.